Hello Internet, it's Jazza here. I am just popping out very quickly. It's Christmas Eve. I have some last minute shopping to do, 2 more gifts, and I'm going to brave the capitalist mecca that is Westfield Shopping Centre. So pray for me. Thank you, Merry Christmas. Oh, hello, welcome to my humble abode, where there are no Christmas decorations, but I do have a live stream of a fire from YouTube, streaming on my TV. So, somewhat festive. The 2 presents I got were, one for my auntie and uncle, who I have just bought alcohol for, because when in doubt, buy the bugger's booze. And the second and final present I got was for my granddad. And I think I am going to be experiencing something over the holidays, over the Christmas break, that a lot of you may also be maybe not dreading, but wary of. You will probably be aware that the UK is less than harmonised about Brexit. We have less than 100 days to go until we leave the European Union, and people seem very unhappy with the mess that is being made of it by a lot of the politicians. A lot of people just want to stay, and there are calls for like a people's vote and all of that kind of stuff.
Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has just repeated that voting down her deal risks no Brexit at all. Does she recognise that, far from being a risk, recent polls show that actually a vast majority of people would like no Brexit at all in order to save jobs, protect the environment and ensure our standing in the world? So will she acknowledge that the will of the people can change? The will of the people has changed. And will she therefore think that the way forward is a people's vote, or does she think democracy ended on the 23rd of June 2016?
The thing about Brexit in 2016 was that it split quite strongly across generational lines. Those who were older were more likely to vote to leave the European Union. Those of us who were younger were more likely to remain. This perhaps built up a little bit of resentment between the generations, and I know an awful lot of people who are now struggling to continue to have healthy relationships with older members of their family, either their parents or their grandparents. And I am not divorced from this phenomenon. In fact, the day after the vote in 2016, I did a live stream where I was pretty scathing, to be completely honest, of the older generation who kind of voted to change the young people's future without their consent. It's really hard for me not to feel resentment, but older people in certain parts of the UK have basically just thrown the rest of us under the bus. I was talking to my granddad the other day. He's voted leave. And it was really hard for me not to feel like a certain kind of resentment towards him, because of the fact that, like, he used the phrase, "I want my country back." And I'm like, from what? From who? From where? From when? I was very specifically talking about my granddad in that video. My granddad is an old school Essex boy, bombed out in the Blitz, a working class warrior, made good, started his own business, sent me and my brother through posh school by selling the family business. Hates the EU, is a consumer of like definitely more right-leaning media, has always voted Conservative or UKIP, and needless to say, we disagree quite strongly about the European Union, to the extent that since the vote
though, like nearly 2 years, over 2 years ago now, we haven't been allowed to talk about politics at the dinner table. And that was pretty much the only thing that we had in common, was an interest in politics, despite the fact that we often, almost always, came to different conclusions about the topics that we talked about. That man is the reason I am where I am today, in terms of like my education and all that kind of stuff. And he's also the person that initially got me interested in politics. I owe that man everything. And I missed him an awful lot, actually. I missed being able to connect with him on that level. And so, a couple of months ago, I decided to try and rebuild the bridge between us. And I feel like a lot of you are probably going to be going back to families over the festive period, maybe ones that you haven't spoken to properly, or ones who you are avoiding talking to, especially in the wake of kind of like political differences. It's all very well to say to go back home and talk to your family members, but if we continue to not talk to one another, then we will continue to be a grossly divided nation that is never going to come together again. And I don't want that. And so I filmed it so that it will be easier for you, hopefully. So here is that conversation. Hi, Grandad.
Hi, Jazz.
How are you?
I'm fine, and you?
Yeah, I'm great.
Good.
So, I told you on the phone, like, do you remember, like, around this dinner table when it was, like, Sunday dinner?
Yeah.
And especially when I was younger, when I was, like, a teenager and, like, perhaps even into my early, maybe mid-20s, we used to get into, like, debates that were occasionally...
a bit heated.
Passionate. Yeah, right? What's your like memory of those discussions that we used to have?
Nothing really. I mean,
No.
What did we used to talk about? I can't recall. It was mainly about Europe, I think.
Yeah, I think so. And like immigration and...
Well, it's all part of Europe.
Yeah. What were you thinking when you were having these sometimes arguments with your grandson? Me.
Well, I wouldn't have said we was having an argument. We was just having a discussion.
Yeah.
Maybe
good.
it got a bit heated at times, but an argument you could fall out and come to blows. But no, it wasn't like that.
Yeah. Good, because I agree. And I think that sometimes if somebody was like looking in on us around the dinner table, some people would see it as like an argument. I'm glad that you also think that it was like a debate where I think I'm a really opinionated person, partially because you're a really opinionated person. And I think I get that from you. And I think both of us are quite like, we know what we think. And occasionally that would come across by like the chats that we'd like have. Is that do you think that that's the case as well?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Yeah. How did you feel when the UK voted to leave the European Union?
I was delighted.
Yeah. Can you describe did you find it in the morning?
Yeah, I did. I heard it at around about 6 o'clock.
Early riser.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we got the radio on.
Yeah.
But there you go, that's when I heard it. Up until then, I never thought we were going to win. I thought that the Remainers were going to win.
What was that feeling when you found out at like 6 a.m? Oh. Did you like punch the air or anything?
Oh, euphoria. Yeah.
Did you, because you knew how like I was voting?
Well, I guess, yeah.
Whatever gave you that?
No.
So I found out a little bit earlier than you because I stayed up. Have you ever thought about the way I felt how do you think I reacted?
I don't know. I don't think I was around when you got the news.
No, you weren't.
So I wouldn't know that, would I?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Have a guess. What do you think?
Down in the dumps, I suppose.
Yeah. So I was
Don't know why, but there you go.
did Dad tell you that politics was banned at the dinner table?
Yes.
Yeah. When did he tell you?
I think it was the last time we discussed it. When that was, I don't know.
Might it have gotten a little bit too heated for
It did,
they
I
went,
think.
we're not doing this anymore.
And I think it was upsetting your mother.
Yeah. I feel sorry for her. I understand that. How did you feel when it was suggested that we stopped talking about politics?
Fine. I mean, your house or your father's house. So
Yeah,
that's
it's Dad's
fine.
house. Yeah.
I abide by the rules.
Yeah. I have missed it a lot. And I miss being able to have those debates with you. I loved it and enjoyed it so much, even though it was like heated. And I feel like I've lost something between us because sometimes, you know, we're like chatting and then somebody might say something about like Theresa May.
Trigger something, yes.
Yeah, and I'm like, and somebody has to go, no, we're not allowed to talk about that. And I'm like, oh, but that would have been really cool. Mm-hmm. And we weren't going to agree. We may have agreed that people were doing a bad job, but we weren't going to do it like on the end goal. But I really miss us having those conversations.
Yeah, I agree with you. I do as well, but never mind. That's the rules. That's the rules of the house. We abide by the rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you think that we are able to have like healthy discussions about like politics and stuff?
Why not?
Yeah.
You don't have to fall out, do you?
No.
You're my grandson. I'm your grandfather. So why should we fall out?
I think because we haven't been allowed to talk about it, and I think because I'm sure you feel this too. I feel like the country is very securely on like one side or the other. Most people who voted Remain don't know anybody or don't talk to anyone who voted to leave, and vice versa, right?
Yeah.
I know loads of friends my age who don't talk to older relatives anymore because they feel betrayed, essentially. And there's these really strong emotions like behind it all. And I think for a period of time I kind of got pulled along by that of like, I think we're encouraged to do it by a lot of the way that the media talks about it. Do you know what I mean? Like we're encouraged to think of, Remainers are encouraged to think about people who voted for Brexit as like evil, racist, blah, 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 blah. All of these like horrible words that are not gonna be true. And then Brexiters are encouraged to think about Remainers as like people who don't believe in Britain, people who are unpatriotic, people who are perhaps idealistic and not realistic and all of those kinds of things. And like saboteurs and all of that stuff. And I think I know you probably don't know that I was thinking this, but I think for a while I was like thinking this about you. But then I try and remember that I know you. I don't really particularly care what the Guardian says about people who voted the same way as you. And I think that's really, I forgot that for a while, and I'm sorry.
Well, doesn't matter, does it?
Yeah.
As I said, you're still my grandson.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I didn't actually realise that was the thing I was going to say to you. It's a bit odd. Yeah.
I don't read The Guardian, incidentally.
What? Shock horror.
Well, the BBC read The Guardian and I get all the Guardian information from them.
Yeah, I just get somebody else to summarise it for me. I knew I was never going to get like a hug or kind of like a declaration of unconditional love from that man. He is a man who grew up during the war and is very unable to engage with any emotions beyond getting very excited about cricket. But to have that handshake from him really meant a lot. Because though he may not agree with my views, I feel like I have his respect. And that's all I really want. And I think it was important, actually, that I ended up apologising to him, despite the fact he had no idea I was projecting all of that stuff onto him. So that I remembered that although Twitter especially, and I mean media outlets that should know better, get very heated, at the end of the day, the people that voted to leave the European Union and want to leave the European Union are often people that we love dearly. And as long as we continue to call Remainers saboteurs and undemocratic, and as long as we continue to see people who voted to leave as racist or stupid, then that may be very good for newspaper sales and for website clicks, but that's not going to be very good for healing this very divided country that we have. So I would encourage you, I hope that seeing me talk to my granddad has perhaps made those conversations with your relatives easier. And I hope that you can persist in seeing their humanity and those family members that you do care about so dearly. This is going to be my last video for the new year. If you want to have some more political Brexit content, I have a podcast called The Right Dishonourable Podcast that I think is very, very good. My friend and I, Jimmy, I voted to remain, in case that wasn't very clear, and my friend Jimmy voted to leave in 2016. And I'm pretty sure we are the only podcast that has two people on either side of that debate that persist in quite liking one another. Our most recent episode was quite heated. We basically ended up calling each other very undemocratic. But he, again, is somebody who is human and I like him very much. So check that out if you're into that. Subscribe to me, because I'm great. And I will see you guys in the new year, hopefully. Right. Thanks for watching. Thank you for this year. It's been pretty good. Toodaloo.